Okay, it looks like the waiting room is slowing down a little bit, so let's go ahead and get started today. So thank you for joining us. We don't have any particular agenda today other than to welcome you and to provide as much information as possible. The general idea for this came about because due to the COVID move-in, the extended period of move-in, and then the truncation of the normal parent orientation, which we had some time with you, but not the time we'd like to have, and especially not the time where we can kind of gather with you on the side to answer your questions. Several of us thought it would be really helpful over the next few weeks to kind of open up some time and space. Now that the students have been here about a week, we'll do this today. We'll have another one next week, and then after that, we'll have an additional time as well. And so the general idea is to just really open it up. But let me give you a couple brief introductory comments, and then we'll open it up for questions. Of course, with questions, we really encourage you to turn your video on and your sound and just ask us directly. But if you're not comfortable doing that in a Zoom environment, feel free to use the chat window, and we'll be monitoring that. You can write questions to us through the chat window. So a couple of introductions. I'm Dr. Michael Thomas. Many of you know me already. I have the pleasure and honor to serve as the president here at Concordia Irvine. Joining us on the line as well is the provost. And a provost, for those of you who don't know, is the chief academic officer of the university, and that is Reverend Dr. Scott Ashman. And then we have an associate vice president for student affairs and dean of students. We have a lot of long titles, by the way. And dean of students, that's Megan Boslow. We have a few additional people from Concordia Irvine. Tara Lynn Walker, she works in the area of disability support services. And there's Tamara. Tamara Sauer is family relations and alumni relations. So she is the one, if you were on campus, she's the one who welcomed you at the tent where you got a goodie bag from parent relations. And so that's the general group. There's about 5 of us on the call. And just a couple of other notes. So last week, we welcomed 580 students to the residence halls. It's going very, very well. Move-in was very smooth. We staggered move-in in order to provide physical distancing for families while they were moving in. All the students are pretty settled now. We've been seeing them at lunch under the tents. We have big tents set up for eating. It looks like the pod scheduling for athletics is getting going. I've talked to a couple of athletes yesterday who are starting to condition in their family pods. The idea here is we put athletes together so that they would exercise together and then live together in the residence hall. So it's going quite well. And classes are off to a great start. So this is the 5th day of classes. I've heard a lot of compliments from students about how well the classes are going. And the faculty are enjoying themselves, and they're noting that the students are very excited even to be on Zoom. So we're thrilled with how it's going. So with that, Megan or Scott, do you have any introductory comments?
I just want to say that it's so nice for our campus to have students back. I think we're all, we're glad to see students learning again. We're glad to see the students who are able to be here on campus here. It's an adjustment for everybody. I think every single day this week has been a learning curve of how are we going to manage this, because everything's so different than what we thought. But people are ready. We're learning quickly now. We're not reacting like we would have last spring. Now it's okay, now we can see how this plays out, adjust. So I think if anyone can make adjustments quickly, whether it's to Wi-Fi connections or how to manage this type of gathering or the needs of these students, or even how do we communicate well and clearly. So that's what I want you to know is it's been really nice to have everyone back, and we're adjusting every single day something to make it better.
Yeah, it's good to see all of you. Hi, my biggest worry for day one is that Zoom wouldn't work and students couldn't get in their classes, you know, things like that. And thank the Lord that that didn't happen. What I heard, students were able to find their classrooms and professors were able to get hooked in. Sometimes they got bounced out, but they got back in, and things are off to a good start from what I'm hearing from faculty. And the faculty are very pleased to be back in teaching. You know, most of them would prefer to be face-to-face, but they have found a way to have very good interactions with the students in the platforms we have. I was talking to one of the biology professors just the other day, and he had some reservations about teaching in this fashion. You know, he's very used to being with students in person. He's found a way to engage with the students really well with questions, not just lectures, because he thought maybe I'll just have to lecture more, but he's engaging in discussion. And then the students are engaging too. So what we've been doing and doing well for a long time on campus in person, we're doing the best that we can in a virtual mode, and we're finding some nice aspects to it as well. Now, you know, as soon as we can be in person safely, right, we'll move that direction. And so, as Megan said, part of what we're all learning here is how to adjust and adapt while keeping the essential things going forward. And this semester will continue to be an adjustment period as we see what happens, what we're allowed to do, and what's safe to do, and what's best to do academically. I think the spring will be in a similar kind of situation, but we're ready for it. So thank you. Good to see you.
So we've had a few additional people join the last minute, so I'll just make a general comment. We don't have a particular agenda today other than to field your questions, to be really honest with what we know, what we don't know, and share some of the planning. And we just want to make ourselves available. So at this point, you've heard introductions from myself, Megan, and Scott. We'll kind of open it up to questions now, so you can feel free to unmute and show your video and ask questions in that format, or you can type in the chat window. So we have the first question in the chat window. We have, Scott, would you be willing to take the choir question?
Yeah, let me open it up to chat. So the question is, do you have a good solution to have a choir sing remotely? You know, we're looking at doing things in phases and stages with this one. So right now, from the Orange County Healthcare Association, we cannot have choirs together, right, in groups, but we can do private lessons, one-on-ones, things like this. As we move along, we hope to gather students in a smaller group outside, right, and then maybe roll it up from there. As that singing remotely, we're trying, you know, that can be done in some one-on-one, and but it's hard if you're a choir really to get groups together like that. So one of the ways we might do this remotely is by stitching it together. So, you know, if we're doing a piece that's a mass group, of course the students would practice individually with the choir director, or maybe in small groups as we can do that. Even be in the recording studio. We have a new recording studio in the Borland-Mansky Center, BMC, where they can record their pieces and we can stitch them together in pieces like that virtually. That's not singing in mass remotely. So no, there is no great solution to bringing everybody on Zoom to sing remotely. That's actually one of the great difficulties.
So let me start answering the question that John and Beth put in the chat window, and then I'll turn it over to Megan as well. So the question is, they were under the impression the campus would be very closed. Hearing that shuttle services to malls, I would say malls slash a shopping, like a grocery store, Target, that kind of thing, over the holiday weekend does not seem wise. So let me take that in a couple different stages. First of all, if you're not in Southern California this weekend, you may not know that it's very likely that we're going to set record temperatures into the 105 to 110 degree range. And so without air conditioning in the residence halls, we're trying to give students a few options to get out of the heat. So that's one of the issues. Secondly, We are worried that students may jump in Lyft and Uber. So we have protocols under the state guidance that allows for running of shuttle buses with masks, etc. So we believe we can do this more safely than Uber and Lyft. And so that's part of the connection as well with why we want to do this weekend. And the general idea is we have tried to stage activities in such a way that we're trying to keep them in their pod units or keep them restricted in numbers. We do believe that they're much safer here than they would be perhaps living in an apartment complex with other people that aren't following protocols. This week has been a week where we've been very, very impressed with all the students wearing masks and really staying cognizant of how their actions impact others. And the note continues about 2 reported COVID cases. Megan can comment on this as well. We have 1 case that's not related to the physical campus. The person is off campus. The other one is on campus. But one of the really great things that happened this week is, and this is part of us wanting to be open and transparent, is we received our Sophia 2 machine. Some of you may recall that we had ordered a machine. It had been confiscated and moved to another high-risk area in the state of California. So we were able to get another machine. It arrived this week. What does that machine do? Well, it allows us to do on-site testing. Within 15 minutes, we have results. And then we have a protocol that regardless of the results, positive or negative, we still do a deep nasal swab at that point, send it to a lab. We're getting those results in 24 to 48 hours. It's double confirmation, but because we have the testing machine on campus, we're able to then immediately talk to that student, contract trace their roommates, and follow the protocols that we've been planning since March. And so we're very pleased with how that rolled out. We knew there would be cases. I mean, you cannot do this without cases, but we're very, very confident in our protocols. So I'm going to turn it to Megan. She can give a little more a nuance to that answer, and then we'll move on to some of the other. And if you have follow-ups, feel free to interrupt us or get back on the call or write in the chat window. So Megan.
Yes, okay, so the shuttle, I want to give you a picture of what it's like so it may look less concerning. There's only a few students at a time that can be on the shuttle, so it looks like about 6 is what we're going to be able to do safely. Every student has to wear a mask. They will be wiping down the van between in fact, the students getting on will be wiping it down as well, and the windows have to be open. So we are treating this as much of a way to get students, we just want to give them opportunities. We're constantly balancing the concern of a student feeling trapped or struggling with their own, which can cause a lot of anxiety or depression, with also feeling safe. So we think we've created a situation that meets both needs. There's again, very small groups going on with a chance to go down to a shopping area and just a way to be out. So I think we'll do really well with that. If it goes well this weekend, we'll continue doing that for the next several weeks if we feel like we can do that safely. And then there's still going to be things going on campus. And when I say things, again, it's really low level compared to what we would be doing if we were fully functioning. So when I say things going on, we're going to make sure that there's just lawn games out going on all over the place, opportunities for, music going. So it feels like there's something going on. But what we would normally do, it's not even close to anything we would have normally done with events and connection. So we're just really trying to get students to stay spread out, outside, wearing masks, and we think that's probably the safest way to do student life at the moment.
Megan, if you jump down to the Burwell family question about masks, maybe you can go ahead and pivot to that one.
Yes, I can. Okay, so when I told you at the beginning that we're constantly responding to things, one of which is students getting, there are students who are really great with the masks, and obviously then we have the students who feel invincible and they're not wearing it. Also, I think there's been times when I see students who, they don't eat it, they don't use it while they're eating, and then I forget to put it back on. So we're just watching that a lot. They are getting reminded all the time by our residential staff. We have had a number of conduct cases already that are, so when I say conduct cases, that sounds more serious than it can be, but we have a policy in our student conduct manual called community health initiatives, which simply says you can be called up for a conduct case if you have broken one of the initiatives. And the initiative, all the things that we have online. So I have already had hearings with students based on face masks or intervisitation and whatnot. The good thing about that is when we're down hard on it at the beginning, it helps teach students, oh, they're serious about this. And we are serious, and we're really trying to make that very clear. The other piece that they're learning is if somebody is, when they congregate too closely together and somebody in that group gets COVID, they're all getting quarantined for 2 weeks. And I think that is the biggest threat to them possible, because that means they're really kind of stuck for a couple of weeks while we make sure everybody is safe. So that's a big eye opener. And I think there's gonna be a lot of lessons learned in the first week or two here.
Scott,
If a student wants to let me know that there's visitation going on in their room, please feel free to send them to me, and we'll make sure they are contacted immediately.
and just to reiterate, we want to make, sorry if this sounds too parental, but we want to make a few examples of students up front so that other students learn from that. And that is, we want to make sure students know we're being serious about these things. So this week has been a week where, as Megan said, we've had to talk to a few students. I know when I've been over eating lunch, I've reminded students, please put your mask back on, et cetera. And so Bracken staff are being really good about doing that. And I know the RAs are very serious, but the really great thing for me is the students are policing each other, perhaps not perfectly, but we're hoping that between the peer pressure as well as some of the getting called on the carpet, right? We're hoping that we can really set an expectation over this first couple of weeks. We all know that if you don't set the expectation the first 2 weeks, it's very hard to get it back. So we're trying to be pretty strict up front. So I think that's a general comment. Scott, would you comment on the stages in Orange County?
Yeah, so we're color coded in California, which is works if you can see the colors easily. So we're purple in Orange County, as are most counties in California. There's only a few that are in a different color code. So if you've not seen these color codes, they are: purple means widespread. Red is a little less widespread in terms of COVID cases. In purple category, you're not allowed to have in-person classes except for labs and studio arts activities. And we do have some labs and studio arts activities occurring on campus. I can talk about that if needed. But the rest of the classes, lectures, discussions, everything are online. That's purple. If you're in the red category, then you can have in-person instruction. Not straight up in-person instruction. It has to be under the guidelines. So the way we've talked about it all along is dual mode, meaning that we'll have, let's say, half the students in the class engaging, directly that way, with the other half online using Zoom for live virtual lecture discussion. So that would be quote unquote in-person for us going forward. Orange County is in the metrics of red and has been for several days, but you have to be in that 2 straight weeks, 14 straight days to have the red metrics before you can actually be red, right? And so then when we become officially red on September the 8th, Tuesday, then you have to be good troopers in that category for 4 days straight.
I believe he recently changed it to 21 days. I know it's hard to keep up with Governor Newsom because he changes the goalposts every week, but recently it's been changed to 21 days. At least for K through 12, I don't know about college. Yeah,
the guidance we got on that is 14 days to be in. You have to be in that category for 14 days. You have to be in a certain category for 21 days overall. We're already in purple, and so they granted us that we were in with those metrics and rolling forward. So by the time we get to the 21st, yeah, we will have been in there 21 days, but we have to be then in red in that category for 14 straight days uninterrupted before we can then engage in the privileges of that, which would be in-person instruction. So
this is why I'm thinking that letting people off campus in large groups to go to places that are significantly large gatherings like malls and beaches and things is not wise, because traditionally every holiday weekend Governor Newsom has looked over all the pictorials of gathering places and said, oh, especially Orange County, we're always on his hot list. And so we get punished every holiday weekend. Oh, Memorial Day, everybody was at the beach, so everything gets shut down, I mean, it's our kids' safety. It's also about, the livelihood of people who are finally being able to open their businesses, even at 25 to 50%, So I think, first and foremost for our kids' safety is that they're not encouraged to go to large gathering places. And then also that we're not contributing to, this open them, shut them game that he continues to play with us. So.
Yeah, thank you. So the soonest we would then have in-person classes, dual mode, the soonest we'd be allowed to have them would be the 22nd of September. If, like I said, we are uninterrupted 14 straight days being in the red category. We would not start doing dual mode in the middle of a week. It just might be too confusing for people to know which day in the middle of the week. So we would start, the soonest is on the 28th, a Monday of September, okay? So it doesn't mean we will be able to do it on the 28th. That's just tracking out the numbers at this point and when's the soonest we might be able to do that. We would also be paying attention to, of course, any cases on campus and what that means, okay? And there's other factors that might impinge upon us not being able to move to in-person dual mode. If there's great hospitalization rates that spike up, then we have to slide back to purple. So we'll keep monitoring it, but for, most of this month is for sure the classes are going to be online except for a few science labs and studio arts activities.
I'm writing a couple of responses here, especially about the cafeteria, and I'll get back to that one in just a minute.
Can I just say something really quickly about
Yeah, please, Megan, yes.
So we have had a couple of students ask us about whether or not they can be on or off, or what their meal plan adjustment can be. And so what we do is I am requesting that any student who has, make sure they first had a meeting with our dining services and a representative from university services. So Laura Hodge oversees our dining services, and then our university representative who attends is Jane Dowdy. And so they want to sit down with the student virtually and find out, what is it that you need and how can we make sure that that's being met? The only reason that's important as a first step is we've had students who just are too shy to say what they need, and then they want out. And the truth is I've seen our dining services be incredibly accommodating as soon as they understand what the need is. So if though they come back and say we really cannot meet the need of the student, they send back the recommendation to me and I can adjust that meal plan. So hopefully that provides us a path towards resolution one way or another on meal plans.
Excellent. Megan, will you comment? Beth just mentioned a couple of things about having students off campus. Will you comment a little more on that? I think that's worth pausing on and exploring.
I think I lost where we are.
No, she mentioned it orally.
Oh, that students on campus, or say it one more time.
Beth, would you raise your question again? You're on mute.
I just find it irresponsible on a holiday weekend to be encouraging kids to leave the campus. I don't, there may be limited numbers in the shuttle, but once you're going out to a mall, to a beach, to places that are large gatherings, and we're early in the process anyway. They've only been on the campus 1 week, and then this is a holiday weekend. which traditionally is when Governor Newsom looks over the whole thing and says, you know, it's Memorial Day weekend, there were too many people at the beach, or the parks were too busy, or it's the 4th of July, or there was this or that. So then he closes things down again.
Yeah, I hear you. Again, that balance of, so we have the students who live on campus, and then I don't know how aware all of you are of, there's students who live in apartments right around the campus too. And so part of my balancing act is trying to make sure that they are not choosing for themselves things that I could have put a little bit more control around. So for instance, if they're all stuffing themselves into a car because one person has a car, and so they say, well, we're going to just stuff everybody into that car, that gives me a lot more anxiety than me saying, no, let me do a shuttle, and I'll spread you out and clean this thing off and make sure everyone's wearing masks. And it gives us a way to take what they're going to do on their own and instead attempt a safer option for it. So
it's not so much the shuttle as it is where they're going, you know, to places that are already, you know, and I get that they feel, you know, constricted or whatever, but, you know, staying at home and schooling online at home is constricting. We sent him there because there is a more social aspect. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there were opportunities available to him as a music student that he wouldn't have had at home and things like that. So I think the message needs to be, you guys are living on campus, which is a very unique privilege that is not being offered to many campuses. And as such, you know, you guys are trying to give them as much of a campus life as you can. You know, they had an outdoor movie. You guys have invested in outdoor furniture. So there's places for them to gather safely on campus. There's places for them to eat outdoors on campus. So respect the privilege that you have there and what everybody has gone through in the last 6 months to try to make this available to you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, be responsible as young adults and realize that, you know, this isn't something, you know, you're not being constricted and confined or whatever. You're actually being given a unique privilege to have a more broad college experience than most of your peers who are sitting at home in their bedrooms, you know, trying to navigate things by themselves. So I just, you know, I find it a conflicting message that, hey, you're here, we've all worked really hard, wear masks, stay out of each other's dorms, but then, hey, you know, you could hop on a shuttle and go to the Irvine Spectrum or, you know, wherever, or you guys get in each other's cars and go to the beach the first weekend of school, and they almost missed convocation, a bunch of them. So you know, I had this really strong conversation with my own son, and I think that should be the message, not, you know, we'll give you opportunities to leave the campus as a group and to try to, you know, if you wear your masks and do things. You're going out into, you know, heavily populated areas of Orange County, and it's just, I just think it's flies right now.
No, I think I like your messaging. I really appreciate you reinforcing that as a parent, the privilege piece, because I think some are struggling with their expectations of coming back to campus and feeling like it was the campus they left, and it's not. Yeah, so I appreciate you making it clear that it's a privilege. We're trying our best to make a safer version so that we can keep it a privilege for everyone. And I will work on a message to reinforce that to students this weekend so they make safe choices about what they're doing and how they're getting.
Well, and it may be that way for people who are coming from out of state and have much prior experience or something, that we've lived in lockdown for 6 months. We know what this is. So getting to go on campus and see your peers and, you know, walk around outdoors and, you know, have a place to, and have a, you know, that's a lot more free than we've experienced in the last 6 months. So.
Very good.
Thank you, Beth. There's a question or a comment from May Antonio that he saw a bunch of people jump into a car with no masks. We are really trying hard to educate students. I would say the vast majority of students are following these policies, and the vast majority of students are putting peer pressure on the other students to follow these protocols because they know it's a privilege and they don't want to have to leave. And so we are working on this. The tricky part is with roommates in particular, and we're working on this right now. When roommates live together, they're not wearing masks in the room. And so then when they go to lunch or something, they don't have masks on because they're roommates, their family. But then getting them to realize that they're sitting down with another family, right, another pair of roommates, but they're not in a pod together. So we're having to really tease that out and say to them, look, when you're around other people, you have to wear masks. So we are desperately and intentionally working on this.
And we surely appreciate any parent reinforcing on what we're doing. So thank you if you are also giving that message to your students. It's very helpful.
Scott, can you comment on dual mode classes?
Absolutely. So the simple answer is yes. So the question, if you're on the phone and can't see, if you go to dual mode classes, would a student have the option to stay completely online if they are not comfortable being in the classroom due to a compromised immune system? So yes. All of our, even the science labs are arranged, so that students could accomplish the learning objectives in a sufficient way right online. And so that if we go to dual mode, students can remain online if they choose. What will happen when we get to that point before we go to dual mode is that professors will reach out to the students to say, okay, it looks like on this date, we're gonna be moving to dual mode. Let me know if you're going to be coming to class or whether you're gonna be staying online, okay? And those that say they're gonna be coming to class will be put in groups. It may be the case that it's just one group, depending upon the size of the class, or maybe it's 2 or maybe 3 and they rotate. But if you're gonna stay online, you're able to be online. All the class schedules are gonna stay the same, okay? So if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30, staying online doesn't mean you get to do it whenever. The class meets Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8:30, so it's gonna work that way. But yes, students can stay that way. And they're also gonna then gonna remain that way. What I mean is, it's not as if a student can say, well, I'm gonna be online and then just happen to pop into class for a day if they choose, okay? Because part of what we're getting at here, I know your question wasn't on that, so I'm just adding on. What we're trying to get at here is controlling the proximity and the relationships and the context. So we want this group to be with each other, then the next group to be with each other, and not for students to come in and come out. So we're going to make that clear to students, but if you're going to be online, you're going to stay online, and that may not be a problem, but some students might think it's just an option, based on the day. So we'll make that clear.
Megan, there's a question here about if a student didn't come in the fall but might want to come back in the spring, how would that work? And I don't know if the implication is, would they be able to get the same roommate they were assigned? How would that work? If you could comment on if we're going to open residence halls in the spring to more students, etc.
Yes, and we would sure love to. I know we're all kind of waiting to see how this rolls out further. What would be helpful is the students who want to be on a wait list for spring, go ahead and after the last set of orientation and parent meetings, we did have students who wrote to our res@cui.edu, our residence life email, and say, I'd like to be on a waiting list for spring. And then if there are things you want considered in there, like I would love to be with the same roommate I had hoped to be with, something like that, that would be great. So we have a wait list already started. Right now, if someone wanted to move on during this semester, we put them on a wait list, and every other week we're doing a consideration of those students to see if we'd like to pause for a little bit, just kind of get the campus settled for the most part. And then if there are we have some really compelling reasons why students need to move on if they needed to. So if we have an empty room, or we have an empty side of a room, or we have, somebody else moved off, so we can move this person on. We're being really careful about how we do it, but every other week we're considering the wait list. And then probably about November is when we feel fairly confident that we could start making decisions about what we would do for spring housing. Prior to that, I think we're just all waiting to see how this moves forward.
Megan, there's another question in the comments from Walt about mask discipline policy. Tamara's already put in the link for the living together on the guidance for masks, but can you comment on how we are approaching this as an educative process and then eventually leading to more punitive disciplinary functions?
Yes. So right now, yes, we have had so many don't forget, make sure you put your mask on, make sure it's on, with the hope that we're looking for the best in people, believing that they're just forgetting. All of us have probably walked out of the house without it on, and it's just, we're still getting used to some of this. So we're doing a lot of reminding right now. The times where there have been discipline involved is with when we find students in another person's room. So we're trying to take the intervisitation in room very seriously. And then if they are in a room and there wasn't a mask on, we're gonna go ahead and tack that mask onto the charge list. So we're gonna keep doing the positive reminders until we get to a point where we think, I don't know how we could remind you again, especially if they've been asked very directly, wear your mask, and then they're found again not wearing a mask. That's when it gets to be a little bit more serious. Right now, people respond. As soon as we say it, they're responding, they're putting it on, they're going to find it. They apologize. So I think we're in the right direction at this point.
Okay, I think we're caught up on the chat questions, so feel free to either add more in, or of course you can turn your video on and ask us a question or make a comment even.
While you all are thinking of some things, I had a couple, Dean of students type of questions I have for parents. And I'd love it if you were asking your students about their study environment, help challenge them to consider whether or not it's working, either we're weekend, right? So now we have ways for students to, if they're on campus, of course they can study in their room, but our library is also open. It's very quiet and it's air conditioned, and everyone's really spread out. So that would be an option for students. Or we've started adding plug-in stations. So right now we've got these big tents where there's tables set up for people to eat. But at the back of it, they actually set up a set of tables where there are plug-in stations. So students could come and study outside under a tent, spread out, and be able to plug in their laptop. And so even with I don't think it would be too loud at all if they had headphones in to listen to class or to participate. So I think it's a good question to say, how are you changing up your environment so they're not feeling stuck all day long? Even if they're at home, I still think it's a great question so that they're staying engaged in their classes.
Megan, there's a question here for you, looks like. Well, maybe you can answer it. The COVID statistics site, it goes back to January. Is there a way to get a real-time number? You want to comment on the fact that the number is current as of this week? And do you want to talk about?
Let me see my COVID site. I did visit. There's a dashboard. Carolyn put it in here in one of the I don't know.
That's what they're asking about. It
Oh,
says
right.
January. Right.
Oh, it was current yesterday. Can I take a quick look at that? Well, go through another question.
Sure. It is current.
Okay.
I think the question is, why did we state back to January? Is that a requirement of Orange County for the dashboards? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I don't think it's, Megan, unless you think otherwise. I don't think it's a requirement. We put it up there to be clear about how many cases we have had since January, which one student on campus, one off campus. We're gonna do a little bit more clarifying on that over the weekend to disentangle some of this so we're really clear, because we have more students who are off campus and away, and we also have faculty out there. So we want to make sure we're really clear about what's on campus. But I take your question. Your question is this semester, right? So we can take that in consideration in terms of how we're noting it. But that's why we went back to January, is just to show we haven't had hardly anything. Thank God.
Yeah. And on that dashboard, if you hover over each of the, I don't know, mustard yellowish, I don't know what color that would be considered, but anyway, that color, each one of them has a definition of what that means, and that has been helpful. What does it mean to be on-campus student, on-campus employee, on-campus guest? What does it mean to be on campus at all? So we know that there's students who've said, oh, I already recovered from that. And so maybe they were a student this summer, but we weren't monitoring. If they weren't on campus and they weren't going to class and they weren't really here in June, but they got COVID and recovered from it. They're not a part of those stats. It was just if they were on campus participating in class or in the residence halls in one of the two sites.
Scott, you want to comment on Monday as a holiday?
Yeah. You're correct. Classes are in session for traditional undergraduate students. We unfortunately had to do that when we moved the semester back 2 weeks in order to make sure we got in all the proper class sessions before Christmas break. So classes are in session on Monday.
So it's not a holiday for the undergraduates to go to the beach. That's also helpful to know. So, Michelle, it looks like it is being recorded. If I'll actually put someone's email in that can get to get this to you when we get it closed up at the end of this session, so they can mail it to you. Sheila comments that she was delighted that she had so much help moving her son in. You're very welcome. We were actually very happy with how the orientation and move-in weekend went. In fact, we had a debrief yesterday that talked about maybe we will use scheduling going forward, mainly because it allows us, by scheduling people's move-in times, it allows us to do a lot more personal interaction with each of you, because if you're in a long line, we don't feel like we can take the time to get to know you if there's other people waiting in the sun, for example. But in a more staged environment, we're able to help a lot more. So we were really happy to do that.
I would like to commend you on handling these unprecedented times. I think you've done a wonderful job overall, and you've stayed, as positive as you can, constantly moving and dodging, especially move-in day. My daughter was so anxious, she almost backed out of coming, but you made it seamless, and it was a great experience, and she's doing really, really well. But I would like to offer some suggestion in addition to the restrictions that you're doing. Have you considered offering the kids more health information, how to build their immune systems? Let's, get outside, get your vitamin D, or take a vitamin D supplement, take some vitamin C, getting them ready for the season. I've looked at those packages, the care packages that you could send in, and they're filled with awful junk food. And not that my daughter eats perfectly, but we limit that. And it's probably the worst example or sample of anything you could eat. So maybe there's local vendors who could offer something a little more healthy and not so much of the junk food. I know sometimes, instead of them stress eating or anxiety eating, maybe eating a little more healthy and getting prepared for the anxiety and stress of classes and being healthful through the season.
Tamara, you want to take that one?
Hi, thank you so much for bringing that up. Very good point. It's hard to think, hey, let's just give our college kids this food, but, freshman 15 and all of that. Very, very good points. I was just pulling up that site. It is a third party that we use for those big care packages that we do 6 times per year. And I thought that they had a healthy one that could be chosen. So I was just looking for that, but I'll double check with them to see what they would provide and recommend for college students to support, healthier lifestyles in terms of the extra food that can be purchased. There is another option to send something sweet or that, from Bon Appetit through the CU Celebrate, which is any time throughout the year. I think the healthiest thing there is chocolate covered strawberries. So, it's balancing it, but that's like saying apple pie is healthy because there's apples in it. So great points. We will absolutely look into that and see how we can continue to support healthy diets for our students.
I appreciate that. And I'm like I said, my daughter doesn't eat perfectly healthy. I'm just looking for I would have liked to have sent her, like she bought herself a CUI coffee cup from the bookstore. And I would like to have had a little package where, you know, was something, instead of all those snacks, maybe there was a CUI coffee cup in there because she likes to drink green tea. And maybe there's a pair of socks in it. Or maybe there's some lavender essential oil in it for calming, or, you know, some cute little hand sanitizer, not that ugly one, a cute one, or something, you know, just something to make them feel good being on campus, because this is such an unusual environment that they're living through, you know, especially a freshman who lost graduation for 2020. Now they're going into freshman year of college, thought everything was going to be great going in, and it's still restrictive. So just more creative ideas. I'm going to be doing my own personal one anyways, but maybe more would sell if it was a little more conducive to actually how they're living on campus.
Kathy, that's a great suggestion. I'm sure Tamara, maybe Kathy, if you want to reach out to Tamara with some other ideas by email, Tamara can throw our email in the list. Thank you for bringing that up. It's really great.
Sure.
Megan, you want to handle the hot temperatures this weekend in the residence halls? I know you mentioned the library is open and air
Well, so
conditioning.
I just looked at our library hours though. It looks like we're closed over the weekend. So that's
Okay.
help in that area. I will say that as someone who's brand new to this area, what I'm learning is it does not stay hot very long up on this hill. In fact, all the students are, even on 80-degree weeks, they're all out in sweatshirts by soon after dinner. So I'm not worried. It's probably what it looks like on the thermometer. Probably isn't quite as hot here on campus. And then it cools down very quickly. So how we're handling it, I'm going to talk to our residential staff and see what they've had in their history of handling hot weekends with students, because I'm kind of new to all of that too. And I don't know how many of you know that right now my husband and kids and our dog and I are actually living in the apartment. So we're doing that for this semester. It's been an incredible learning experience. So I'm right there with them. So if whatever we're working out, I'm also going to be helping students work that out too.
I'll comment one more thing on opening weekend. I think it's important for you to know that while there was a lot of staff and faculty and administrative support, there were 4 young people, students here. In fact, several of them were juniors who are called peer advising coordinators. The 4 PACs are the ones who actually planned orientation. So I think it's a great testimony to the fact that we try to offer leadership opportunities to students, but orientation was planned by those 4 students. They of course had assistance, but a lot of what you saw, a lot of the thought given was done by 20-year-olds. And so I think that's pretty impressive. So thank you for all the compliments, but the wrong people are on the call to compliment. So anyway.
They did great.
We have about 10 minutes left. Let's see if we can get through a few more of these.
Flu shot.
We'll try to figure out how to get the recording out to you. Okay.
Good points about the flu shot. We are definitely going to be, I think the overall suggestions we're hearing from you on healthy living with how do you build your immune system for all of our staff, faculty, and students to get that's being encouraged probably like never before. So it is available.
Can they order from the bookstore and send things to their students' residence halls? I'm sure the bookstore would be willing to at least put a package together that could be picked up.
That's a great idea. And I wonder, Tamara, if have you had that work out before?
So I just posted the link for our bookstore. Our bookstore is run by a third-party company. And so there are a variety of options if you notice on move-in day in the bookstore, but you can also click that link or just search Brooks Bookstore on CUI.edu and see a variety of other spiritware hats and shirts and other things that are currently branded for Concordia. Separately, in our Office of Family Relations, that's where we work on the other things. But hey, I am all for finding some fun swag that, you know, we can put together cute packages for your students to support them as that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Scott had mentioned to me in the past, I think we've been able to open up some other buildings when it gets really hot. I'm going to look for, just checking with our team to see if there's ways that we can open up kind of our larger space areas where we can spread people out if it really seems like people are looking for some opportunities for air conditioning here on campus.
Yeah, my memory might be faulty on this. That happens. But the last time we had a really big heat wave, we also had a power grid go down for a couple of days. It was no fun. I mean, there's fans in the dorm rooms. That's a godsend when you don't have electricity. So I know we had hydration stations, but I think when things got back up, I think we had the cafeteria open with longer hours because it's air conditioned and just no. I mean, we have other buildings that are open for students to sit in. Since then, we have the Borland Mansky Center, the BMC building, which has a lot of open seating on multiple levels for students to be in, and that's air conditioned. So it shouldn't be a problem for students this weekend to find a cool place to be outside of their dorm room. And let's pray that the electrical grid stays up so that at least the dorm room fans can go.
To set everyone at ease, I did hear from University Services that because the last time we lost power, they do it in sectors. And so something like we would not lose power again for another 4 to 5 years in the rolling blackouts because they only turn off sectors at a time. So since we've already gone, we won't come back around for a long time. So if that sets everyone at ease.
You know what's funny about that is it went out the weekend that everyone was originally going to move in. So the 2-week delay kept everyone from having to be a part of that.
Some of you asking for the recording. I have sent an email off trying to get clarity on how I can get that to you. And so I'm working on that.
I can help. We can throw it in the next parent e-newsletter for everyone.
Say that again, Tamara. Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, no problem. If you'd like, we can put it in the newsletter, the parent e-newsletter, or even post it on the parents page for parents to go to and visit.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be helpful. Okay.
I mean, we do have 2 more of these great coffee talks, and so I'm sure there'll be different topics brought up, so we could post each of them if you'd prefer.
That would be great, actually. We'll also try to get it out to the people who have left their emails in the chat window. I'm going to copy those right now.
About the outdoor gym.
There you go.
About that really quickly. So we have a gym called CUI Active, and we're trying to work on reconstructing it so that we actually take windows out and create screen systems and all the stuff so that we can have it be natural airflow in there. That hasn't been completed yet. The athletes have workout spaces being developed so that they can get on certain pieces for those groups right away. What I do want you to know is that we have some wonderful faculty members who have volunteered to actually lead some fitness activity outside. So for instance, there's a faculty member who's leading a hike up French Hill this weekend. We've had some faculty members offer to do yoga out on the lawn or all kinds of great exercise opportunities that are just kind of ramping up outside. And again, it's going to be warm, but if we go early in the morning, it'll be fine. So we're hoping to keep students active. We know that part of building a healthy immune and healthy mental health too is to keep students exercising, active, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, and we need to do some reminder emails about all of that.
Scott, there's a question about printing services on campus. You want to take that one? You're on mute.
So I clicked and I apparently muted myself instead of unmuting. Are other printing services available on campus? Yes, the library has printers. And Megan, I don't remember do the student lounges have printers, or are there printers in the dorm areas as well?
They do, but I need to check on that because we were required by the county, the new guidance, to cut off certain lounges. What we were trying to do is make sure that there were a couple of study. So I need to just check on exactly where the printers are. There is printer availability, I'm sure of that. I'm just sure I know the right one. So the library, absolutely. generally in there's a study lounge that really isn't a lounge at all. It's literally desks, and there's one in there. So let me just figure out where they all are at this point and see if I can get those to Tamara to put into the newsletter. Does that sound okay?
Okay, so we're only a couple minutes away. Jim, please, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Apparently my daughter Beth had lunch with you this week already. So she enjoyed that very much, called up, guess who had lunch with the president? So thank you for being available and out there. She's also highly dairy allergic, and food services have been great. I think she really threw them for a loop when she said she wanted real roast beef or real pot roast and vegan mashed potatoes. And they said, wait, you want what? Because she can't have the butter. She can't have the dairy. And they've been great, and she's really enjoyed the food. So thank you for that. I know there are some student kitchens. And do you have a timeline or thought on when those could be reopened? Or would that be with classes or when we go to red? Or is it a longer term thing?
Good question. Jim, thank you for the compliment. It's my pleasure. It's not bad to have my job eating lunch with students. Okay, that is the highlight on my day, not necessarily the finance meetings, FYI. So, Megan, you want to take you have the question? I think the kitchens are primarily in the lounges. Is that correct?
Sorry, I was answering another question off to the side. So, let's see, where are the kitchens? Is that what it was?
No, Jim just asked it orally. Are there student kitchens available? Right now they're closed.
There is a student kitchen in Sigma and Row. I believe there's a kitchen in each one of those. I mean, I know there is. And I believe they're open, but I need to check on that just to make sure I don't say something incorrect. I have not cooked in it, so I should check.
Yeah, sorry if we don't have answers to everything. You can imagine that when we've shut down a lounge that has the door access to the kitchen. The question then is it open? I'm not sure about that. So there's a lot of these little things we haven't yet quite worked out. So the fact that you're asking these questions is super helpful, because unless someone asks, we're like, oh yeah, we hadn't considered that. So thank you, Jim. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
I know we did shut the kitchens down last spring, and it was for making sure there was no contamination. So, and well, you know, as some of the guidance we have as university is not direct guidance for being a university, but it's guidance for being a restaurant and this and that and the other. So I know Megan will look at it, but at one point they were closed down. Maybe they're back open again. We'll see. Yeah,
in the group chat, Shannon mentions that her daughter already picked up the kitchen keys so she could cook due to dietary needs. So that's fantastic. Okay. We are at 1 o'clock. I want to thank you for this time. You can always reach out to any of us. If you need, we can put our emails in. In fact, I'll do that right now. You can have my email, and maybe other people can do that as well. Thank you for joining us. We'll be continuing to hold these over the next couple weeks. But of course, even after those formal times, you can always reach out to us. We're very happy to partner with you. And I know there's a lot of questions that we don't have answers to, but we're super excited that you're partners with us in all of this. So thank you. God's blessings on your days. And always reach out if you have questions. Okay.
Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Tamara, do you have any idea how we pull the recording down off of here? I've never done that.
Yeah, are you the host? Is it under your account or someone else's?
I am the host, yes.
Okay, great. So when we leave, when you say end meeting for all, It'll
Okay.
convert to a Zoom recording either on your Zoom account or on your computer. And then you just email that to me, that link.
Great. Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks,
Thank
Megan.
you.
And
Sure.
Megan and Tamara, remember, I'm not on this call next week because I'm going to be on an airplane. So
Scott?
I will, yeah, Scott's going to be there. And you could ask Peter if you need, but I think you guys can handle it.
Okay.
It's mostly res life questions. So as we would expect. So, and then I'll be on the following Friday. Next week, I got to go see my family. So,
Glad you're getting back up there.
oh yeah, I try to go at
We'll
least
handle it.
3 to 4 weeks. So,
Yeah. Oof.
okay. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Okay.
My pleasure. I'm just going to stay on until if there's anybody else that has a specific question or sends their email address.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to end the recording. So.
Okay.